Welcome, Carina. How are you?
Hello. Hanging in there, doing good, doing good. One
Yeah.
day at a time.
Yes. Awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and pull our affirmation card. It's
Hmm.
from The Universe Has Your Back by Gabby Bernstein. So,
Oh, I like that.
this card could be for you, it could be for me, it could be for the episode, or it could be for someone listening, or just for fun. um, Ooh, this is interesting given our talk. Instead of praying for an outcome, I pray for the highest good of all.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Does
that's
that
a good
resonate
one.
with you at all?
Like you said, is what we was, chatting about a moment ago on how if if everyone is open and ready to uh, receive the good that could come their way and in the future, then that's what they'll receive.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
I know. And I like that too because it really says let go of control to me. Like stop
yes.
thinking about what you think you want and just pray for something or intend something that's good for everyone, which I like.
Hmm. You know what? That resonates even more because I'm thinking now about how the good things that I'm thinking of happening for personally involve other people, involve something that benefits more than just me.
Yeah.
And even though I'm doing things right now that benefit me to prepare for that part, it's um, it's just a part of the process, that I'm going to create certain things that'll be um, beneficial to so many others. Hopefully, I'm hoping so. Um, in fact, today on uh, on my Instagram, I announced the changes that are coming to Deconstructing Black and how it's going to be focused on giving those who are on my page ways to apply things that will help them in their journey. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I'm not in the space of asking for anything for
Mm.
myself at this point. I'm more so in the space of asking what what am I supposed to be doing next, and can I do something that's beneficial to as many people as possible.
Mm.
That's and I say can I. A lot of people say, oh, I have this purpose and I'm gonna go out and do this because I know my talent and my gifts. But
Mm.
I think of it this way, we all have something, and
Mm.
even though we're anxious and enthusiastic about, giving it, putting it out there, it's important to note that it's no, there's an honor to it. There's
Yeah.
a gratitude that should come with it that makes you say, well, can I? Am I allowed to? Am I allowed to pour all of this out on everybody?
Mm.
And not just a bold imposition, but more so just a state of gratitude that you have something to give. And I think that creates a balance, a balance of giving and knowing, what you have to give and being confident in that in a sense, but not falling into that pervasive thing that's in society where you have to do more, you have to do more. It's bigger than you. You have to do something bigger than you, and
Mm.
that pressure, that push to exude all of that. I don't know. It don't feel balanced to me. You
Yeah.
know, it feels very much like a fortunate privilege to benefit the collective in some way,
Yeah.
because everybody doesn't get to find out what they have to offer the world. There are people who come here and they leave never knowing. what they could have contributed, just how much they could have impacted the people around them, or people from afar, however it's done.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm in a space of I'll be so glad and so grateful to be able to do anything at all.
Mm, yeah.
It doesn't have to be big. It really doesn't. It just has to be concise, because I'm a firm believer in, if you knock down the right domino,
Mm, yeah.
you'll still get a beautiful display, and all it takes is one, you
Mm,
know. And I want to impact the right ones. That's all.
wow. That's all.
So knowing
Just
that,
that.
thinking about that, thinking about how, that affirmation says it can, um, you can experience the good.
Yeah.
Everybody can. Everybody can. And it just, it's just about perspective and gratitude.
Mm, I love that. And I love how that kind of decenters ourselves and our ego of like,
Mm,
I'm going to bring all this change. Look at me go. And it's kind of like, I might be a catalyst for some change for other people or for some good for other people, but it's out of my hands what that
hmm.
exactly is going to look like. I like that a lot.
Right, right. There we go. That's it right there. Just knowing that, no matter what you do, if you do something, it's done something. And
Yeah.
it holds, the same impact if it's, genuine, if it's real. And I know that I have a few pages on IG. Um, and the two main pages that I've been working on, Deconstructing Black and Deconstructing Colors, I had wondered at some point if I'm doing way too much, if I'm doing too much. You know,
Mm,
um, it was, I found it very easy to get wrapped up in, pushing out content, getting things out there, and telling people things, and seeing everybody else do it. There's a lot of the time where I step back and I'm watching everybody else. I'm watching everybody else's pages on Instagram and TikTok, and I'm seeing them all put out all of this information. And that time that I take to step back, grounds me. It brings me back to reality. It makes me realize, okay, this is, no matter how we spin it, it's a show.
yeah.
It is entertainment. We're entertaining ourselves with these things, albeit good information's going out there. Lots of people are getting educated on things. Wonderful. But sometimes it's a lot, and sometimes it's too much. And that little monster, you know eats a little, it gets real big real fast. That monster about being seen, being heard. And I always make sure that whenever I feel that the monster is, you know his chops are getting wet,
Yeah.
and he's kind of,
Yeah.
I step back, and I'm like,
Mm,
no, that's not what we're here for. We're
mm,
not here for all of that. So I don't jump on every trend and bandwagon, and everything that everybody's talking about. I know recently everybody's been talking about John Cooper and his uh his interesting perspective on deconstructing and what that means to him. um I didn't get in that conversation because I feel like it's not my conversation.
yeah.
I don't converse with regarding people who aren't ready for the conversations that are actually going to bring solutions. And that, I guess that's why I'm not in a space of asking for things or
Mm,
wanting, because I'm like, okay, we've all talked about these things. We've all
yeah.
said what was wrong in the world. Um, whether it is, stopping, discrimination or, you know, dealing with decolonization and religious trauma. Um, we know the issues. I'm in a state of mind, okay, what are we going to do about it?
Yeah.
That's always been my question. That'll always be my question until we start implementing the solutions that we want to see happen. I don't see it happening with government.
Mm,
I see it happening with people, with individuals cultivating themselves.
yeah.
But I also see that, um, all of this display of sharing and content creation, spreading information and education on these different things, these people who are doing this content are also healing as well at the same time. And for somebody to come into deconstruction and start dissecting their faith, whatever that faith may be, I come from a Christian background, so I began to deconstruct my faith at that time with looking into the history of the Bible, where it actually came from, and what all the origins are of anything that was spoken of. I was looking for um, just one speckle of irrefutable evidence
Mm,
and realized that even if one were to have evidence, there's really no way of anyone, uh, being able to solidify it because so much time has passed. We can even look at how they're respinning slavery already. They're trying to change the story
yeah.
from what we knew it as growing up as something brutal, where they're actually taking text and softening the words and no longer using the word slavery, instead servants, uh, workers, things like that. They're using different language now, and it's
Yeah.
changing the entire meaning. And I feel that's the same way with the faith that I grew up in, is that so much has changed since then. There's it would be really, really hard for you to find the proof.
Yeah.
Um, it's covered up by things that get lost in interpretation and translation.
Mm,
So
yeah.
so I
Mm,
can either at this point simply decide to believe it, to think of it as a reality, the things that were written in the Bible, or I could choose to uh, pursue life the way I'm doing now.
mm,
And
yeah.
I like this way better. Um, and I look at the Bible now as an allegorical book, a book of uh, representations of humanity. You
Mm,
know, I look at it as a inner journey of a specific person, and they are going through these different stages of life, and they're all representative of something that's happening on the inside of them.
wow.
And they could come into a state of, Christhood, whereas there's, uh, well, yeah, there's the selflessness and the recognition that the collective is um, the main objective. But in the beginning, you're kind of foolish. You're kind of um, uh, what word am I looking for? Not exactly foolish, but more so
Hmm, like naive, maybe?
sporadic. Sporadic.
Maybe. Hmm.
You can be, or not sporadic, erratic. Because when you think
Mm,
of the Old Testament God, he was quite that way.
yeah.
Um, where this being decides to create a beautiful place, but creates rules and uh, restrictions that kind of don't make sense. But we do that to ourselves quite a bit.
Yeah.
There are, we'll look at ourselves and be a very harsh judge towards ourselves. And then when we fail at what we hold ourselves to, um, we have a tendency to self sabotage. When we're unbalanced, we can be just like that God who, if something goes wrong, if that one thing goes wrong, okay, everybody can get it. That's it. you know,
Sending a flood.
exactly. That's us. That's us. That's our journey. The learning. I look at a baby. Babies, they throw tantrums. They get mad. If they don't get this thing right the first time. My daughter grew up like that. She would want to do everything her way, a certain way, and if it didn't come together just right, you know. The
Yeah.
development, though, after a while, it's, oh, that doesn't bother me that much. Oh, I'm not too concerned about that. Eventually, you grow and you get to the space of, uh, just knowing better, knowing just a little bit more, and notice
Mhm.
that God evolves. He evolves. He evolves and says, you know what? I'm going to sit down and sacrifice myself and recognize that what matters is not just what I want. What
Mhm.
matters is that everyone that is a part of this world that I've created, because we all create our own little worlds, you
Yeah.
know, everybody that's a part of that is important. And I'm going to tear away the old parts of me. I'm going to put it on a cross and let it die. And I'm going to come back, letting go of all the old baggage, letting go of everything that wasn't serving me or the people around me,
Mm.
and be able to be in a space of teaching them how to do the same thing, giving them the equipment, the tools, and the encouragement that they need to create what really should be happening.
Mm.
And that is love, forgiveness, togetherness, and um, giving the process of life and evolving the spirit a chance.
Yeah.
And so that's how I see the Bible at this point, because it just it looks like a mirror to me.
Mm.
I don't see it as this God that's talking through the Bible, etc. I see it as I'm talking to myself.
Yeah.
And this is me at times if I don't um, create balance. And then when I do create balance, I'm feeding 2,000 with one loaf of bread, that one domino, that one
Mm.
person that I can reach.
Yeah.
That's why I see it that way, because that's really all it takes. The love and the compassion is the catalyst for anything that um, is to become, for it's to come from that, from evoking something in that person that I may have been able to encourage or influence.
Mm.
And now, from whatever it is that I did, um, they're able to take that same compassionate energy that I just put out and spread it. But that takes time. There's things that, kind of get in the way of it,
Mm.
like, the fight between Republican and Democrat and, all the
Yeah.
labels we throw at each other. We throw so many, we forget to call each other, human.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, it's good to be in that space. But
Mm.
I guess I should go into, you know, the I know you wanted me to talk about the connection between uh, the Black church and the origins of the Black church and how it evolved into what it is now.
Mm. Yeah, that would be great.
Um, that's a lot because there's so many. When you think of Western Christianity, because that's what I'm most familiar with. I'm becoming more familiar with Orthodox Judaism in Ethiopia. I'm becoming more aware of different sections of the African continent that have had, um, you know, Judeo-Christian um,
Mm.
groups. When the chattel slavery uh, occurred, and of course, anything that um, the slaves came with was immediately, demonized and wiped out. There were replacements that happened. One particular group I'm really familiar with is the Yoruban people, and from that group came a mixture of Catholicism and the connection to Yoruban deities, and those are called Orishas, or um, some would call the practice Ifa or um, Sadaria. And of course, it evolved and changed, and there's Vodun, and there's, different versions of that mixture. So from that, if you think of a initiation ritual and that belief, what happens is there's a dance, there's music,
Mm.
and there's smoke burning from cigars or incense, and then the one who's being initiated takes on a dance. The dance is representative of the deity that is their guard or their guide, their main guide,
Mm.
and they begin the movements. Um, there's a similar thing that happens in the modern westernized Black church, and it's called shouting. So if you receive the Holy Spirit
Mm.
and you get excited about something you heard or felt while, amongst other believers, you begin to dance. The movements of this dance is very similar to what happens in Yoruban ritual. So there are pieces of us that always come out. There are ancestral things that reside in us and come out of us even when we don't realize it. When I was growing up in church, I would see um, folks who would get up. My mom, in particular, she had this dance where she would hop on one foot in stilettos I actually used to love seeing her do that because I was like, man, she can go. And it was vibrant. You know, I found it to be uplifting. There were moments, though, there was a few moments where I found it a little uncomfortable,
Mm.
strange, but for the most part, I enjoyed it because my people were dancing. They were dancing, you know. However, being taught Christianity as a slave and having those ideas passed down, some of those ideas were actually damaging to our community. Um, some of those ideas were helpful. Uh, I always looked at the helpful side, especially when I was still practicing the Christian faith. But when I started learning a bit more and going through, you know, examining my faith in a different way, and I suppose going through deconstructing, because at the time that I was doing this, they had no term for it.
Mm.
I've told people before that, you're very lucky in this time. You can go to an Instagram page and find support. I ain't have that. I
Yeah.
had to walk through the whole process literally alone. I was living alone at the time that I started doing my research, and it was difficult. It was jarring, and my heart was broken because the faith in the God that I thought that I was worshiping and following that whole time um, wasn't what I thought. And I know that there are Christians, they don't really approach me, not very much.
Mm.
There's one or two, maybe three. I could probably count on one hand how many have come into my DMs or come on my page with some craziness.
Yeah.
I suppose, I don't know, it must be my vibe or something, but they don't come for me like that.
Mm.
Um, and if they do, they better be ready for something. uh, but oh yes, the um, the changes that happen in the church, throughout the years, always reflected white supremacy in some way. The
Mm.
ideals and the perspective of the white being. I can't really,
Yeah.
I'm in such a different place now. I don't I see so many things differently, but um knowing that the idea of, feeding your children, thinking of how they whipped us, and that idea of, beating someone to get them to listen to you or do what you tell them. Um, the versions of trauma, brainwashing
Yeah.
came into our community. And we went from, operating as a village where everyone had a position in place, something that they did for the people they lived amongst. There was someone who would gather the food. There was someone who would clean and cook the food. There was someone who would make the clothing. There was someone who would gather the materials for the clothing. Everybody did a part and a portion to
Yeah.
make everything in that community run smoothly. We went from that to being told what to do day in, day out.
Mm.
The only thing that they had left was their beliefs.
Yeah.
Those beliefs evolved into Christianity because of what was being taught and it's constantly being passed down. So church for the Black community is a very big deal. Um, it came and well, it came to um, a point where we were uh, unable to speak our own language, but our belief became a new language. Yeah, that's what happened. Our belief became a new language. It was a megaphone that we were able to use uh, at times. And I suppose that's why um, Dr. Martin Luther King, you know, being a preacher was more acceptable than someone like Malcolm X who practiced Islam. And being that the foundations of manipulation uh, was established by the Christian church, it was.
Yeah.
Uh, when you have clergymen telling George Washington, just tell them you're a Christian so that we can have some kind of favorable siding.
Wow.
It was incredible to learn that he was not necessarily a Christian, and that the church was trying to get him to ascribe to it and proclaim it as his faith. So it's been from day one in America anyway that religion was used for political manipulation. And we see now how that's evolved. But for the Black church,
Mm.
it was also a means for political influence.
Yeah.
And so the church, it was a lot of things for the Black community. It was a shelter, but it was also a ball and chain.
Mm.
And in some ways, the ball and chain uh, has created what we see in our communities now, where um, there's some apathy, there's a little bit of apathy, a bit of hopelessness, because when you are saying, well, give it to God, give it to
Mm.
God, give it to God, you're not responsible for any movement.
Yeah.
And it does give you a subconscious um, reaction of not going and pursuing and feeling like you're making an impact or making a difference. Uh, I suppose that's why our communities, some of them, are still struggling. A lot of people like to mention Chicago. Oh, look at them over there in Chicago shooting each other. Look at Compton. Look at South Central. Look at Atlanta. Look at Detroit. Look at look at Philadelphia. Look. Okay, look. What's looking gonna do?
Mm.
But the church was a an escape in those neighborhoods. It didn't
Yeah.
matter if you drank, smoked, went to the clubs, to the bars and stuff. You was in church Sunday morning if you was Black. That's
Mm.
kind of how our community ran for quite a while. Is oh, you going to church? Now there was some of us that weren't having it. All of us have that one uncle or that one aunt that would, say whatever they want to say, however they want to say it. And say,
Yeah.
I ain't going over there with the people, and just be like, mm-mm. But ultimately, that was a way of escape. We would go in, preacher would preach, everybody would be feeling good, and it would kind of keep you going another week.
Mm.
But it didn't change anything. It didn't change anything externally. It didn't make that kind of an impact to where the economies in these areas were better, or the education system was better, or crime rates went down. None of that happened because we were leaving it to God. And that's why I'm in a space of, we can talk about all these problems and everything that's going on, but what are we going to do about it? And it's up to us. I'm just hoping that what I do with um, deconstructing colors um, can ignite something,
Yeah.
and get people on board with recognizing that Chicago is your neighborhood too. If you are in America, you got to remember that Chicago is part of the USA. So if there is a part of the USA that is sick, that means your country is unwell. It's still part of your country. And this separatist mindset is what some people outside of BIPOC communities have to still grasp of, that they have to let go of that and recognize that everybody's feet are on the ground. We're all under the law of gravity. And as long as that's the case, we're here together. And that means that we're not separate. It
Mm.
means that we are all we're all here. That should tell you something.
Yeah.
And we haven't gone anywhere. We keep being here together. So at some point you have to say, all right, you know what? You ain't going nowhere. We ain't going nowhere. So what we gonna do? What are we gonna do? So I'm hoping that that comes to light and sparks um, enough interest in others to take those actions. And some of those actions basically look like, oh, I don't know, Googling about the town of Allensworth in California. That was another Black Wall Street that got destroyed, but it got destroyed in a subtle manner. Um, it didn't get bombed, but it did get swindled out of growing.
Mm.
And that's a lot of the stuff that we talk about in the Black community, about the trust issue
Mm.
with people outside of our community, that we've opened the door and they said one thing but mean a whole nother thing, whole other thing.
Yeah.
We end up losing land. There's many of us who had families where they did have some property, but they were coaxed and convinced to sell it. They were, uh, businessmen, businesswomen
Yeah.
who were coaxed into selling what they had,
Mm.
or backed into a corner to sell what they had, or threatened. um, and I'm hoping that everyone realizes that this connection we have with one another is the only way things are going to change. And it's there, the connection is there. We just have to be honest and accept it.
Mm.
But I'm hoping that it's interesting how hate works. And I find that hate is usually a fear that is coded with an excuse.
Mm, wow.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we should, you know, teach CRT in schools because
Mm, yeah.
there's no education, there's no seeking, there's no learning. So for deconstructing colors, I'm hoping to bring the education, bring the learning, so that everybody can get to know one another. I think sitting down and actually talking to people is essential. I notice though that's not happening as often as it should. So I'm like, okay, well, if everybody's on social media, maybe that's where we can actually sit down and see each other.
Yeah.
Um, so over the next year, that's what deconstructing colors is going to be about. Is getting that conversation going, um, and getting people to be introduced to each other. I recently interviewed uh, a polygamous family, a Black polygamous family.
Mm,
And for a while, we've seen white polygamous families on television. They have TV shows for them, but nobody knows,
mm,
what it's like for someone who's Black. And they have a wonderful family dynamic. Um, it's beautiful how they work together. And I've been uh, paying attention to them for quite some time. And there's other parts of different communities. Those who are from India, those who are from Japan, those who are from China, those who are from Korea, those from Russia. There's stereotypes and ideas that we all have about each other. And I'd like to create things that reveal exactly um, who we are, and allow that introduction to open up doors of you know togetherness, people actually coming together and realizing, yeah, we really are a lot alike. We really are one. We really are under this blue sky together, and we actually can make it work. Now, it's the thing about the, I guess, shadow banning and algorithms and things of that sort. I don't really concern myself with that too much
yeah.
because I don't understand it.
Yeah.
But I have other ways, other things. There'll be in-person community events and things of that sort to actually, um, do a bit more to get people, um, standing up and getting involved. And
Mm,
yeah, it's it's a vision that I hope will will grow, and I, I I don't limit it just to the U.S. You
yeah.
know, Uh, I'm a world citizen, and I think it's important to allow people from everywhere, to get to know one another. And I don't know. I get motivated by the energy that I think will happen if that really happens. If
Yeah.
that kind of compassion grows and actually um, branches out and people feel it. I want to see what that looks like a lot.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, Karina. You're doing such beautiful work. And before we close this interview, I would love to maybe have you summarize the work that you are doing and how people can get in touch with you too. I know you have some big news. I don't know if you want to say what it is or not. If not, I can cut this.
Well, for my page, Deconstructing Black on Instagram, I will be curating some uh, different, I don't know if I could call them challenges per se, but there'll be some material that will help those who are deconstructing and rebuilding their life path. Um, Things like, taking care of the body and the mind and, making that connection. There'll be things like a 7 day, um,
Oh,
self-care, things of that sort. So those are the kinds of things that we're going to get into on that page. And then for Deconstructing Colors, we are aiming to get our status as a nonprofit organization. A way to donate for that cause is listed in the bio of the Deconstructing Colors page. But for Deconstructing Colors, I want to promote cultural education and opportunities for people to get together. I want to do things like hold question discussions where a person asks one question, another person answers, and everyone just listens. No one gives any further input or anything like that. You just listen and you sit with it
mm,
and you ponder it, and then you determine what you're going to do with it for yourself.
mm,
And it's to promote active listening. I see a lot of people who don't uh, know how to um, use active listening as a tool for connecting with people, because that's the beginning of dialogue, is actively listening to learn something and receive before giving. So
yeah.
I want to cultivate those kinds of environments. And also, it'll be an organization that supports the forwarding of, anything that's related to social justice and community development for communities that need different resources to help with mental health, um, trauma survivors, and yeah, an opportunity for children specifically, because I'm hoping to get to the next generation so that um, what we're trying to do continues, it gets passed on, it becomes a legacy, and um, can grow even more, from that. So, yeah,
Oh,
just so that's going to be Deconstructing Colors, and looking forward to sharing all the good new information I've been getting. Oh, and there is a book, not my book.
I was like, what?
I'm not doing a book yet. I might, but it's not going to be something that's like about me.
Mm,
It's more so going to be books about the solutions and progress that we can,
mm,
create for certain things that um, you know, we need healing from. But there's a book that I'm reading right now
oh,
about
perfect.
African religions before slavery.
Mm,
100 African Religions Before Slavery by Akan Takruri, Akantakruri. It's really insightful. He starts with the Maori and goes into, uh, Nur, the river goddess, and Tonga, Nubia. There's so much in here. And I got this because I was always wondering what happened, before my ancestors were brought over to the US. What were we doing? I'm
yeah.
looking into that more, and I'm trying to stay away from the odd
Mm,
things that I hear about here and there. The like the Hebrew Israelites and
mm,
there's certain groups that have their view on what we were before we came to America.
mm,
But this is a very insightful, it's an essay style book.
mm,
And this man did extensive research and pulled together all of this beautiful information.
wow.
Um, and it's incredible. I didn't know that the Maori believed in one singular God. And then there's a section about Yoruba,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, it's beautiful. There's so many, and it goes into the Orishas and about the Luba tribe. These are people I haven't even heard
Yeah.
of, and I'm like, wow, it's incredible. It'd be nice to have this information a bit more available. And so that's what I'm going to be doing with Deconstructing Colors. If I'm done with this, I'll be sharing what I've learned, and that goes on for different things. I'm going to be going into different lifestyles, uh,
Mm,
educating about different ethnicities and cultures that are modern, and that are ancient, so that everyone knows a little bit more about each other, and allowing opportunities for workshops and things of that sort where people can come together and learn. Um, and I want to do it in a format of uh, the the monasteries established by Thich Nhat Hanh. And he, of course, recently passed. Um, he was actually a big part of me starting Deconstructing Colors, because he was a big part of my deconstructing process. And a lot of his philosophy on life about people gaining understanding of one another. I want to carry that on and get people to have a space to understand one another, because understanding changes your perspective. It takes your uh, unbalanced perspective, and it gives you a balanced perspective. And from
mm,
there, you can start to feel compassion for the other person, where you understand their suffering and you understand their joys, and you both can, come together under that and grow together. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing, all the information that I gather when I get to know people from different communities and allow them to tell their stories. There's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of a lot of good
yeah.
information and content, and uh, yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm I'm looking I'm looking forward to
Thank you. Thank you
it.
so much for the work that you're doing. And thank you for sharing that book. The title will be in the show notes as well, so people don't have to hurry to write it down. They can just
Yeah,
look.
you can
Um,
get it off of Amazon. It's on Amazon, and it's the wording is good large print. I like that, and
oh,
oh yeah, good stuff.
I like that too. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Karina. And I'll link everything you said in the show notes. And I'm
Hmm.
really excited to see what's coming and also what's coming between now and the time this comes out. Maybe there will be even more exciting stuff.
Hmm. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank